So the content for today and the session will be focused on business modeling, but rather than talking just about the content of the session, my idea was to, let's say, give you a little glimpse on what I do as an instructor, or call it teacher, educator, but let's say what I do while I'm in class. So my experience in teaching business modeling has to do mainly with international students. So, you know, Italy is a quite attractive area for international students. So there are, let's say, Brazilian students, American students coming to Italy, and they want to learn a bit about entrepreneurship. So they might have different cultural and academic background, meaning that I've had students from, you know, studying medicine who really literally knew nothing about business or agriculture studies, or I mean, students that are vets, so from veterinary studies, but also students that were very much skilled into the business field. So those experts into strategy or even business models. But still, the way I think that there is a double value that I would like, you know, to provide you. Let's say to speak a little bit about the content of business models, because I think that it's a topic that can be adapted to many fields and that can be useful to, let's say, and integrated into different courses for different kinds of students, because it's a very simple and flexible tool that can be used. But on the other side, also maybe to give you some ideas about tools that I use in class. But this is my experience. So, you know, I believe in the richness of diversity. So maybe if while I talk, you also tried something different in class and, you know, an idea sparks into your mind, please feel free, you know, either to interrupt me or use the chat. So find a way, let's say, to reach me, because, you know, contributing to each other, it's really what enriches our worldviews and let's say the way we learn. So let me start with this. So I have a question. So to start the session today, I had this question in mind. And the question is for you is, what qualities make a truly effective trainer or professor? So I will share with you on the chat, okay, a link. And you should access this page. Can you see it? It's
Yes.
called a Google Jamboard. Can you see it? Okay, I see people are accessing here on the top right. Now, what you should do here on the left, you find a little note. So you write the note and then go on save. And this is what happens. Okay, you have a little sticky note that you can put on the Jamboard. So I would like you to add these notes, please. So with the qualities that make, that according to you, make a truly effective trainer or professor. It's only view access. Let me see what.
Exactly.
I messed it up. Let's see. I'll go to share. Editor. There we go. Thank you, Sari, for helping me. Is it working now? Okay, can see. Yeah. Let's see. Something is appearing. I see a little note. I will update. It's working perfect. Become relevant experience. Knowledge
Sandra?
on the topic. Yes. Someone talk? Did someone talk? I heard a voice. Active
Sandra, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can't edit.
You can't edit. Well, anyways, Emad, just write on the chat.
I tried,
Chat.
yes.
Okay, in chat.
Yeah, just use
Oh.
the chat if it's
I
not
wrote
working.
prepare.
Yeah, we can see passion.
You
It's
can.
work, I think.
Yeah. But no worries. You can also write it on the chat. Passion. So, active listening. Okay. Oh, there you go. Passion, confidence, passion for teaching. Oh, yeah. Adaptability. Able to walk the talk. Sounds nice, even in rhyme. Great. Organization skills. Wow. Well, I think that, you know, maybe we can, let's say, when I look at your contributions, I think there are at least two areas, let's say. One that has more to do about content, that is being expert, knowledge of the topic, probably even relevant experience. We can put it on this side. The issue of preparation, okay, that has to do maybe good education background, the skills for facilitating a meeting. And then I think that this brings us to say some more soft skills, I would say, that have to do, maybe we put also organization skills next to the facilitation ones. Yeah, and then, I don't know, but it sounds to me that you are reporting some, let's say, what we call soft skills in terms of, you know, Emad contributed with passion, confidence, adaptability, but also interpersonal communication. And I think I truly agree with this. I mean, this is truly what makes, what I also believe makes a good educator or facilitator. So that's the first tool I wanted to share with you. So besides looking, you know, at the content, I would also like you to focus a bit on the process. So this is called, I don't know whether you were familiar with this, but this is called Google Jamboard. So to access it, you can use it very flexibly online if you do online seminars. It can be used as an icebreaker, as I did now. The problem is that I don't know if you can read Italian, but here it says the Jamboard will not be available anymore starting by October the 1st this year. So I tried to look for some alternatives to see what's available. And I found, okay, this is EasyWrite 6, the web version. And I think it works pretty well. So I tried that one because it doesn't require a particular login from the members. Here, probably with the Jamboard, I think you need a Gmail account, but probably, you know, in this version, you can still access it. So it's pretty easy to access. But maybe, you know, if you want to try something different, or if Google Jamboard expires, you can also try this other tool. I also tried the other day many other tools like Lucidchart, Miro, OpenBoard, Microsoft Whiteboard, Colaboard, Stormboard, but you know, it was an interesting, let's say, research that I made, but still they all require a login from the participants, which might be fine for you if you decide, for instance, to use Miro for 1 or 2 sessions. But maybe, you know, for, let's say, quicker sections, I would suggest you, you know, to use more flexible tools. So as Google Jamboard or EasyWrite 6. So let's move now to the second question that I have for you. So this has to do with the main challenges that you face as a trainer or as a professor. I mean, teaching is great. We are all, you know, passionate probably about that. That's why we are here, you know, to try to enrich each other. But still, maybe, you know, sometimes we face some issues. And, you know, I do have some interesting stories, and I believe we all have some interesting stories regarding our students, especially if they are young. Okay, so now I'll put, Emad, student engagement. Now let's try this tool. This is an alternative. So first we used Google Jamboard. Now we will use Padlet. So this is Padlet. Padlet, it's a very nice tool for both in class and online lectures, or let's say classes. So here is how it works. Basically, there is a plus on the bottom right of the page, and here you can add a Padlet. So Padlet can include images, they can include short videos, they can include pictures. So it's a pretty flexible tool. So now I kindly ask you to try to add an answer to this. So let's see, Emad, if now you can access this one. Let's see what would happen. I'm pretty curious to see if, you know, we all share the same challenges. Is the world so really different? Classroom management. Can you expand a bit on what you mean by classroom management, please?
Like maintaining a positive environment.
Okay, yes.
Especially in online.
Yes, positive environment. Yes, that's hard. So maybe I'll try to comment here. Now I misspelled the words. City and especially online. Yeah. Oh, managing time. Yes. Yes, that's a big issue for all of us. I'm always late, constantly late. You know, we have a program, and then we say, why do I have a program for if then I cannot cover it, you know, and anxiety and pressure comes into the way. Yeah, I share that feeling. Oh, lack of trainees motivation. That's also interesting. I would be curious if you have young students, or maybe more skilled or experienced people. I don't want to say old. But yeah, mixed backgrounds. Oh, that's another big challenge. I totally agree, Yes. So let's see if someone else is still writing. I'm curious to see. So there are some more comments. Engaging participants, yes. So that's very similar. Oh, curriculum development. I don't really know what this means. What
I mean in my let's say my topics, I am computer engineers. Let's say programming, for example. Every time a new topic is come, so you need to update your topics.
Yes.
That's take time actually.
Yes, because I think that with technology, right?
Yeah, you need to follow up. Yeah,
you need to every time revise your lectures and update the contents.
Exactly.
But that means that you are a motivated educator.
Thank you.
Yes, because not everyone does it. So I truly believe that that's an important part.
Yeah.
But still, maybe it's time consuming. So we need to balance a bit the things. So let me share with you now. Let's see, probably someone else is still writing. But regarding time management, I want to share with you what I learned. And I would say it's a continuous learning process. And it's very much in line with what you were saying, Emad. So what I personally do, well, for each session that I teach or train, I try to have something like this, which I call a session plan. This is a sort of program, okay, where I have all the activities, okay, and it's important when you, let's say, co-train a session. This is truly important in an online environment because the dynamics are different from an online to offline. But what you can have here is to have some modules, okay? For instance, this, okay, the Jamboard activity can be one module that can be integrated here, but replicated and slightly adapted for other sessions. So this is how I work. So I try to work with, let's say, what I call little modules of activities that can be integrated in different sessions and can be quite easily adapted. I want to warn you, it takes time, okay, to plan. So, but still, in the way I teach, I feel a little bit more, let's say, safe when I have something like this, because I know that, let's say, this one, it's not working, no problem. I have plan B, okay? So I try to have a plan A and a plan B for each activity. Which is not always possible, but at least you have a structure, and you know where you start from, and you know where you're going to, you're heading to. So this is a quite useful tool that I use. This was the Padlet activity. So in terms of this tool, I don't know whether you knew it already or if it's something new, but it's something that we use a lot, either online but also offline. Because imagine that you have students doing an exercise and then they can simply take a picture of the exercise and then share it on the Padlet, or they can share pictures of themselves doing something. So it's a way also, let's say, to, well, it's a sharing strategy. And there is also one option. And so basically students can link the different boxes here. So you can create some, let's call them maps, okay, that can be useful. So even, to maybe when you discuss the takeaways of a session, and then you say, okay, but now let's try to find the links between the different concepts, and they can link them. So Padlet, it's a really useful tool. You can, I think that with the free account, you can develop maximum 4 Padlets. But then, it's still quite helpful. I also added here a QR code. So I simply went on a free QR code generator, and I simply put the link there. So it generated the QR code that I integrated in the slide, which works pretty well even in class, for students who always have their cell phone with, and maybe they can access more easily. Because typically in class, we don't have the chat. So you don't really share the link with the students, but you rather share the QR code. So that's another idea. So do you have any questions concerning maybe these tools or these strategies, or any contributions that come to your mind? Have you ever used them before?
For me, this is the first time. There is limit for the student to use them. Let's say we have a class of 60 students.
So regarding, I think that Jamboard and Padlet are pretty flexible, so you can use it even with big classes.
Mhm.
So that's a really an advantage. But I think you can develop maximum 4 Padlets. But this is a really good question for me, because it means that you are already thinking about using it. So
Yeah.
we can check it out. And but these are 2 good alternatives. And I also suggest you to check out this one, the EasyWrite 6. I have never used it in class, but I tried to use it the other day just for this session, and it seems to work pretty well and be pretty flexible. So you might want to have a look at that. The only concern that I personally have, but that's just me, is when I do these things in the classroom or in presence, it means that I'm telling my students to use their cell phone, which might be a way to engage on one side, but on the other side, I experience it also as a way of distracting, because while they scan the QR code, you know what happens? The WhatsApp, my mom called, there is something going on, let me check my email quickly, and then it might become a source of distraction. So my suggestion is you can use, so what I do make them use the cell phones, but maybe, toward the end of the session. So when they started to getting tired, and it's a way, to kind of motivate them a little, to refresh their mind, to change the tools. But toward the end of the session, maybe, even if there is a little bit of distraction, it's fine for me, as long as they complete, the QR code or the activity with the takeaways and so on. So it's a double-edged sword in the way I see it. Okay, now, any other ideas or contributions regarding these tools, questions? All set? Great. Now, let me show you the next slide. New to me. Oh, thank you. I didn't use that. That's great. So I'm glad that I shared something new. Now, I want to put this into the presentation mode because, I also went through some trainings. And, when you have those aha moments, when you realize that something in the air is changing, yes, now I want to share with you my haha moment. Here is, what one professor showed me. So this slide shows robots as professors or trainers. And, there is the moment, so this is not really something that is a far reality in the way I see it. I mean, there might be ethical issues regarding this, and I totally agree. But still, it might become reality. I think that robots, I don't know what you think about this, but yes, that's the moment. So, you might have, I mean, there are certain, so in the way I think about this is robots are certainly more precise than I am. They do calculus faster than what I can do. They can process much more information. Now we see with AI, they can even be generative. So my question is, how can we be different from this? Because, I take it from, let's say, an economical or business perspective, and I think, we need to differentiate from what is going to come from our future. So I believe that, so I don't know, did you ever thought about this? Have you ever?
Yeah, for me, as I told you at the beginning, I'm teaching in AI, and one of my chapters, I make like a comparison between experts, human experts, and expert system. So now we are, comparing now like teacher and robot teacher. So AI is developed very fast. Okay, they use a lot of techniques, but I think the emotion part, as a human, for example, we show care. We can be more creative. Like the AI robot is like it's a program in a way. It's most of the time it'll do the same task. But for us, we can. For example, I have 2 session class. I teaching the same material. The way I teach in the first one, I think it will be different than the second one. So maybe this is how we be different from the robot.
Yes, I totally agree, Ahmad. I think, this is truly a big challenge, and it's a reality. And I mean, it can have positive implications if integrated in a, let's say, correct way. Because we can think, now the big problem in Italy is how do we make sure that students don't cheat? But actually, if we think about, let's say, poorer countries, this can be a way, also to have some education where we don't reach them. So I don't know if it's Munkets or Fatan.
Yes, actually,
yes, please.
Speaking of the robot versus humans, the difference between educators who are robots or act like robots or like human beings, the difference is that adaptability and ability to change and maneuver within the session, because always you have a session plan and you are ready with it, but you have like things change in the classroom that makes you able to change your strategies, modify, further include students, or to act. So you strategize for a change that is you are forced to handle. That's the difference between a robot and human being.
And at the same time,
interesting, and
at the same time, professors cannot be robots. Because if you are a trainer or a professor at the university, when you enter the class at 8 a.m., for example, it's different from 12 or in the afternoon. So your energy will be fluctual, and while the robots will keep in the same rhythm from the morning till the end of the day.
Yes. So Bourbar wrote, I think it's a good tool, but very dangerous to replace a human. Yes, and I think that we can reflect a lot about the risks of this. I mean, I heard an expert talking about this, and they said, you know, there are some handbands now for students with a chip right here that can sort of monitor their attention levels. They have been applied in China, if I'm not wrong. Here in Italy, it wouldn't be possible for ethical reasons. But I was surprised when our school systems for grading that, you know, so parents can assess the grades of their children on the cell phone and on the computer here in Italy. So there is a system for that. It's already ready for, you know, that, for integrating that part. Hopefully it won't arrive, you know, but the reality is that, you know, we might even be able to monitor attention level and to adapt, which is like, I mean, at the frontiers of my ethical thinking, but still, you know, something will appear. So when I reflected about this, this is an example of, let's say, an activity that might stimulate dialogue. And, you know, it's something current, it's something relevant for the audience. It's something that, you know, has some points of, how can we say, it's a little bit controversial in some sense. You know, there might be someone completely refusing technology. There might be someone very prone to use it. But this is an example of an activity that you might also want to integrate in one of your classrooms. Just put a picture, put one question, try to stimulate a dialogue. But what I learned is that the most important dialogue that we might have in class is not the, let's say, from one person to another person, but it's rather what I call the inner dialogue. So if students, you know, you really see the eyes of the students when they are starting to think, this is really what we want to achieve. So this idea really changed a little bit, you know, the way I teach. Because it's not focused on me anymore and on what I know, but it's rather focused on the students and what they know. So, you know, I tried to create one slide based on my experience, but I believe that you can also enrich it. So my, let's say, little tips and my experience is that we should try to move beyond content. We should try to be authentic. It's not so much the what, even if, you know, you need to carefully select the things you would like to share with the students, but it's rather to stimulate reflection and the enriching of each other. The second tip that I have is make students active. So we often, I think that I moved from traditional lecturing, so me speaking for an hour and students silent, just listening, to try to make them do something. It can be through technology, it can be through speaking, it can be through writing. But, you know, I try so to give them, let's say, a short lecture, maybe 10, maximum 15 minutes, and then try to make them do something about it. But not only just to check whether they understood the concept correctly, but also, you know, to see that they can provide a value to that topic. This is how, you know, this is how I have changed. Another interesting observation that I made is, to use humor, the power of humor. So sometimes we have fun in class, which, some educators might think, oh, but it's a little bit tricky here because we want to be like the serious professor. And I think that this goes back to authenticity. You don't have to do what you don't feel, that's something that fits you. I mean, there are professors here that are super professors that are very different from the way I am and from the way I teach. And I don't think they should change. I truly don't think they should change. I think that we all need to be different, and students, will gain value from this authenticity. But certainly, maybe fostering a positive climate, certainly this helps. When I remember one day I couldn't really engage my students, and I was like, okay, but where is the trick? And I went to a professor who was expert in education, and she told me, it's all about the climate, the class climate. Don't forget that the class climate is the most important thing. And this little, teaching truly changed the way I teach. Because we are all physically different. So, there are big professors. I am kind of thin and maybe, with a different voice. So we should, let's say, empower our strengths rather than mimicking someone else. And I still take this as, a learning process, even for myself. And I truly feel that the students feel if you want to learn from, and if you're open also, for your own mistakes, rather than being so, everything has to be perfect, and which creates a lot of anxiety, but just let it go and go with the flow. So yes, this is my motto, probably teaching is the best way of learning. Now, I don't know if you have any other contributions regarding your teaching or your experiences, whether you have changed, whether, you're willing to experiment new methods or new teaching ways of, stimulating students. But yes, this is what I wanted to share with you in the first place. Any other ideas about this? So I think we can move on to the next step. And here is another tool for you. So this is a book club. It's probably more, I would say, famous than this is what also our university promotes as a tool. Here it is. This is the book club. So just let me give you a second, because with the book club, you need to display the question. Okay. No, let me go back. Okay, here it is. So now you should be able to access it. You need event code. Yes, it's right here. It's SDDPUI. So we are going to the content of the session with after the premise about, my little short, tiny experience, but that has been enriched with yours. Oh, business models to use, so means money-making process. Interesting. Let's see what else. Business map. Maybe I will show you. Okay. Let's see what else. In the meantime, let me talk to you a little bit about this WooClap. So here I accessed with my Gmail account. So it's pretty flexible as a tool. And it's nice because you can create different kinds of activities. This is a word cloud. So were you able, let me maybe share with you this one. So you can also try with your cell phone. Let's see if mine works. Let's see. So I go on Google Lens and then scan the QR code. And then the WooClap should appear. Yes. So you just, nothing work. Okay. So, all right, correct, because I need to do this. Try now, Mumbar.
Yes,
Does it work now?
I will try again.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it works.
I think I
Yeah.
can, but
For me, it's not working.
It's not working. Okay. So did you try now? Try to refresh the page.
It worked for me.
It works. Okay, great. I see some words.
Yes.
Worked for me. Okay, so let's see now. I will try to. So you go on WooClap.com and then use the event code SDDPUI. Let's see. Were you able to do that? Let's see what it happens. Yes.
Cannot validate. Cannot. I don't know why.
Oh, it's not working. That's very. Did you try with your cell phone, maybe? I'll try. Do you have Google Lens? With Google Lens, now I'll give you the QR code. Try to scan this QR code with Google Lens. Did it work? Ooh, let's see. Yeah, super. Look at this beautiful word cloud. So that's another strategy. I mean, it's one of the many tools, but WooClap really provides you many different alternatives for quizzes and icebreakers that you can use both in class and out of class. Yeah, bye. Yes, yeah, super happy. Yeah, so, and you will see that when students get used to use this tool, they do it very fast. especially if you have young students, they are faster than me in using this. They really enjoy it. But here you see, you can just put what comes to your mind when you first hear, and maybe one word for your class. So that's a way, to collect a little bit their initial ideas. But this is truly helpful because you sort of know the starting point of your discussion. Because the way our brain is made, now I'm not a truly expert about brain and so on, but still, we have the neurons, and the neurons need to connect to each other. So you need to create those connections with what they know. Because if you start speaking about something that is too distant from what is in their mind, the risk is that they will disengage immediately. But not because they are not engaged with you or with the content of the class, but just because they literally don't know what you're talking about. So here, for instance, I can see that some of you think that, business models have to do with money, making or management, probably a way of innovating, a way of creating value, certainly, a blueprint for your business. Yes, it's certainly, something relevant for the business. Someone, has in mind maybe a test or a business planning process. It's a way to, capture or provide customer values. There might be different mechanisms, different challenges, different revenue models. So what is this word cloud telling me is that there is a big difference, okay, in what you think about this topic. So the message for me as an educator is, I need to be very clear on what we are going to do next, because there might be, different ways of approaching this topic as for someone, it might be completely new. So regarding business models, I would like, so now we go a little bit more into the content of the session. I would like, to share with you what I do also with students. And it's a way certainly to talk about innovation. However, many times we have some wrong ideas about innovating a company or doing something different. Because first of all, we think that to create innovation, we need a completely new idea that no one in the world had before, okay? But then we find out that actually, and most likely probably someone else already had it because the world is quite big. Second, we may think that, to have a big success, we need a lot of money. So the fact that we are not successful with the business is because, we don't have enough resources. And the third, let's say, wrong fact about innovation or business model innovation is that we need a super fancy technological innovation. So here you see this girl eating from the tubes. Well, this is a super technological idea because while she breathes out, okay, she makes the algae grow into the tubes, and she doesn't need to eat anything else because the algae provides her all the substances to survive, okay? Which is a pretty, I cannot say disgusting ideas for Italians, we love pasta and pizza and spaghetti, so this might be a bit problematic for us as Italian. But the reality, and here I bring you some local examples from Italy, is that, first of all, you know, Barilla is a very famous brand in Italy. So the pasta, the blue pasta box you see here, I don't know whether you have it in your country too, but in Italy, it's really, you go to the supermarket and this is what all the people buy, okay? So in all families, we have a pasta Barilla. And the reality is that they did not invent a pasta, so it's not a completely new idea. The other wrong idea is that, you know, you need big resources. But most of successful businesses today, well, I think that most of the stories in entrepreneurship, well, they started in a garage, you know, doing very little steps toward, let's say, a bigger business. And then you really don't need super fancy technological innovation to innovate your business model. The idea is that, you know, maybe this is a winery. This is, you know, in Italy, we have wonderful wines. I don't know if you are wine lovers, but I don't drink that much wine, but I appreciate the good one. But here is an example of a traditional Italian winery that introduced, for instance, the organic wines production, and it's very successful. So what is all of this telling us? Well, the reality is that if we need to innovate a business model, so the way we do business, we need to identify new ways of creating value, but also capturing that value. So we really need to have an holistic view of our business. So yes, it's about money making, yes, which means you know, create value, but value, you know, it's much more broad than money, because we might create value for someone else. And I know that Lama with Building Palestine, you know, she's very active into creating value for someone who is in a situation of need. So creating value is much more broad, but we certainly need also to capture one part of that value. So, you know, because we can make a lot of money, but then in the end, you know, we don't capture that money. We just create it, and then, you know, basically we remain, in Italian, we say, with a little light in your hand, which means, you know, you don't appropriate. So, so the business model canvas, it's a tool that typically, you know, you have a big sheet that is printed that we can use in companies or in class to think about ways to create some value, but also to appropriate some values. And when we think about this, we don't need to forget that it's fundamental to have a business model that takes into account the context, because it's from this, let's say, the environment is speaking to us. You know, there is a demand, there are some potential customers that are out there, or some potential beneficiaries that we might want to, you know, attract with our business model. So that's why Nidal now will present us some, let's say, contextual variables, some contextual data about the context where you are living. So the Palestinian context. So Nidal, I leave the word to you. Let me. Okay, now I think we are all set.
It shows the presentation, Alessandra.
Yes, perfectly.
All right. Thank you for the first session, for the first half of the session. And now, while we're doing our business models, it's very important to keep an eye on the broader context. It's very important because the broader context in Italy is drastically different from the broader context in Palestine, understandably. So here, a 10-minute snapshot on the overall performance doing business in Palestine and economic system. The importance of these indicators is that they keep the business model in check, whether it's authentic. It's really answers the overall powers that are engulfing this business, and it keeps the entrepreneur really grounded when it comes to capturing that opportunity without harming the process of chasing that opportunity. The overall picture when we're looking at the Palestinian economy is that we have been able to generate economic growth between wars and under occupation. So this fact shows on the statistics. If we have a timeline of 25 years, we really show there is an economic growth. Now we're up, before the war, we were about to reach $20 billion in GDP, which is coming mainly from West Bank. $16 billion of that GDP comes from West Bank. Over 25 years, Gaza GDP basically remained very, very flat. So keep that in mind that we're a small economy. However, the real economy we feel is more than that, because the World Bank tell us that Area C alone could contribute additional 10 billion to that 20 billion, and we have no control over that. We are also lacking regional and global trade integration. So take the idea of tourism. If we're allowed to have free tourism to Palestine, how much that would contribute to our economic situation. And we also have huge restriction on foreign direct investment, which also limit our entrepreneurs' ability to access much needed funding for them to scale up in the future. So these are the macro level indicators that are around any business model that we're going to work with. And basically, this is what hinders our economy. So to sum again, we're doing a great job in terms of economic growth. However, we're fighting our way to achieve economic growth. This also reflects on the overall environment of doing business. So the World Bank classifies us as at 117 out of 190 economies. So we're also doing good. In terms of getting credit, we're also quite advanced. However, in terms of electricity, input for these resources, the ease of establishing a company or starting a company, we're still classified under the last third of the 190 economies. So there are difficulties in establishing a business or starting a business. The input cost is relatively higher than the region. Yet there are some promising initiatives in terms of enhancing trade with the world and getting to credit. To give you a glimpse of where are we ranking, for sure we are better than Lebanon. For sure we are better than Iraq. And we're even better than Algeria. However, Jordan is 30 steps ahead of us, and no one beats United Arab Emirates in the region because it's very open economy. But I would say for an economy under occupation, for an economy that is so depressed, we're doing very, very well with the means that we have. This is the overall message behind that. We have around 166,000 companies. And we are really starting 3,000 company per year. If we take the window of this data, we're also doing very well in terms of establishing companies. And that rate is expected to accelerate as we open up to the world and as we open up to the additional flows of investment. We have to keep in mind Hebron, Nablus, Gaza, Ramallah. These are where the governorates where most of these companies exist. Number one is Hebron, followed by Gaza. Now it's unfortunately, we can assume that this economic base in Gaza is gone. Nablus is third, Ramallah is fourth. So it goes against the traditional way of thinking that Ramallah comes first. No, it's actually Hebron comes first when it comes to private sector activity. 88% of these companies is small family-owned businesses in the traditional sense, which means that innovation is in its early stage and startup ecosystem is in its early stage. This is an economy that is dominated by families. And I think it goes the same in southern Italy, but it is dominant by family. Yes, it is 100%, let's say 990% dominated by families, which leaves 10% to the other components and other forms of companies. And we will explore that statistic later. So if it's 90% family businesses, what this leaves for the entrepreneurs? I have a question here if you would like to answer. How many startups you think there is in Palestine? If you can answer on the chat. Is it 5,000? Is it 4,000 startup? Is it 1,000? Is it 300? Is it 150?
Who is going to win?
I think Ahmad got the right answer. The 10 years work of entrepreneurships in Palestine really led to the formation of nearly 280 to 300 startups.
For the startup or what?
Yes, 300 startups that have made it in 10 years.
Okay.
And these startups, out of these, we have 2 exit in the region with scale, with scalability potential. We have around Monkhov. Please go ahead.
That's I have a question. Actually, yes. I know from my past knowledge that this is true. The enterprises or the small businesses are not the most successful. But my question to us as planners, why do we invest in these small businesses or entrepreneurship projects or startups, since that we know from our historic data that it's not the best option for youth? And globally, I know that the number is also at the global level, these startups are very minimal, the ones that stand and sustain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe because they choose the wrong businesses, so they cannot sustain and proceed.
Actually, the literature, if you consult, if you have the publication, I will share them now on the chat from the World Bank. We have 3 to 4 publications covering that, including the ecosystem mapping. We have mainly related to the overall hard economic environment in which these entrepreneurs are operating. So part of it is mismatching. However, it's not the entrepreneurs themselves, rather than the lack of funding, the lack of scalability, as well as the weak pipeline. We will go into these factors. However, 300 is quite good, but I think to answer you, Faten, is that we have a conception in the country is that entrepreneurship is the only private sector activity that we should focus on. And that goes back to what Alessandra was saying. Entrepreneurship is part of the umbrella of private sector activity. If we adopt the concept of economic growth, it's far more broader than entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship might work sometimes for certain age categories and for certain type of economic activities. However, economy cannot be summed up only by entrepreneurship. It's part of the economic activities, and focusing on that umbrella of options for people to engage in private sector activity is actually what we need. So,
I think
serving-
also, given
Go
that
ahead.
current governmental problems that we have here in Palestine in terms of inability of our government to pay salaries, so that becomes the only option for youth to be
Exactly.
entrepreneurial
Exactly.
rather than, and also limitation of the private sector to hire all graduates.
Exactly. But keep in mind, Dr. Rami, that our economy sends us a message that we always recover back from hard situations and wars. We will come back. That's a reality. The history tells us that no matter how hard the hit, our economy is able to march forward and add every year couple of millions to its GDP.
But is it sustainable economy? That's a problem. Is it because what I can see, we are depending on aid, not.
To answer that, I have been living with these numbers since 20 years, and the economic growth is persistent. Now I can tell that after 5 years of it, the public sector contribution to the GDP is lower than the private sector contribution to the GDP. So now 2/3 of our economy is private sector led. 1/3 is government. In previous years, it used to be the other way around. 2/3 is government and aid / private sector is 1/3. So we have flipped the page over the past 5 years.
But if we see the results from the last year, I think the picture will completely change.
It will be reduced by 25%. Our GDP will be sent back to the level of 17 billion. However, same as the Corona experience, if you see the chart, in the Corona times, is the chart clear?
Yes.
If you can see from the Corona, we took a hit of 2 billion almost, and we recovered to 19 billion. So this ability to recover is what categorizes the Palestinian economy, which is resilient. We have this resilience in our economy, and numbers have proven that.
I think that this is truly enlightening. So thank you, Nidal. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
The last 1 minute is that we are categorized as ecosystem as an early activation ecosystem, which means very low number of startups with potential. By every year, this is what I could find from the literature, is that we are able to start 15 to 20 startups per year at a growth level of 35%, leading to around 2,000 jobs. What is the bottleneck for us is pipeline. The quality of the pipeline is very important. This is what we are all trying to do at the innovation centers at universities, is that ensuring the quality of the coming ideas so that we establish more and more startups. The more we start companies in our economy, the more we start startups, the more we get economic growth. It's linked to each other. Second, we have to do more than one venture capital fund. It doesn't have to be Ibtikar all the time. There has to be other funds coming in the game, and we have to scale up our startups beyond 2 to 3 exits that we are priding ourselves in every conference. Thank you, and I yield back to you, Alessandra.
Thank you very much, Nidal. I think the data you presented really, this is an example. I mean, when we do sessions also with either international students, but also with Italian students, it is quite important that you make it relevant in terms of local issues. And this is what you really, can provide as an added value. So in your business model for the students, this is also a way to create value for them, because it's really important that they realize where, they operate, or the potential enterprises might operate. Yes, so thank you very much. Now, I had in mind, let's say, some activities, but so are you flexible? Can you stay 10 minutes longer, or do you need to leave at 11:30 sharp? Let's see, maybe in the chat. Oh, you can. Okay, so I'll finish on time, and I'll just give you a quick look at the things I prepared for you. So I had in mind, so let me share this on the chat. We don't have time to do this, but this was an activity that was thought to be made in breakout rooms. So I don't know if Lama will be with you in one next session. Maybe she can run this, because it was truly, interesting. But here you can find, let me see. Okay, this is an activity I do with my students in a slightly different way. So I bring in class some objects, literally, so bottles, there is a glass, there is a package of food that are related to the topic I am discussing, okay? And I give these objects to the students with a sheet of paper like this, and I tell them to write down the characteristics of the object, what they find out. For instance, it's organic, or the packaging has this color, and so on. And on the other side of the sheet, they have to write down the characteristics of the company. So they have to research with their cell phone or computer. And, I give them, let's say, 1 minute, observe the object, write down, or 2 minutes. And then I say, switch. And they hand the object together with the sheet to another student. Okay, so in the end, it's like a round session. This can also, yes, of course, the slides are already in the Google Drive folder, where you can have all the materials. So this is a way, let's say, to do an observational activities, which is different because you physically bring objects. Of course, this cannot be done online, but still you can divide the students into breakout rooms and assign, by giving a link to you prepare just a PDF of the Google Drive, okay, so they can download it and follow the instructions in the breakout room. So you give them, for instance, a mission to answer some questions regarding this website. Here we selected some social enterprises that are active in Palestine. So we would have asked you, to answer these questions. So this is another way to involve, one possible way to involve the students. So in terms of materials that I prepared for you, I prepared a Google Drive folder. You have it on the session outline, where you can find the session plan for today, my presentation, so all the slides. I don't know, Nidal, maybe if you want to add also yours, that would be great.
Yes, for sure.
And then I also added a folder. So for those of you who are actually going to teach business models, here is a series of possible activities that you can make. From the article reading activity, so you give the students an article and then you discuss about it. The marshmallow challenge, how to run that, so they have to build a tower, and you already have the slides and all the contents and how to run it. how to develop business models also using AI in class. So this is another idea of, integrating practically new technology into the classroom. And here, is another list of possible activities. For those of you who teach business models, I strongly suggest you, let's say, the first 3 and the last one, activity 7. They all work perfectly in class and students get really excited about them. So here, let's say you have a little toolkit, okay, that might be useful. And now we are heading toward the end of the session. So just 3 minutes. So, well, I wish you, with this toolkit to have fun. I hope that you will enjoy, let's say, looking at it. And for the last activity, I would like, those of you who, let's say, would like to share with me, how did you feel about this session? So looking at this little man here on the tree, can you identify yourself thinking about this session, maybe with any of these men, little men? Which number would you be? Nidal, where would you be?
That's very tough question.
Oh, Munkets, number 10. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Munkets. It shows a very positive attitude. I would feel as number 2, probably, the one, hopefully helping to someone else to grow. Number 15. Where is number 15? Let me retrieve it. Yeah. So I think we had a pretty positive climate. So I hope, that I was able to give you some tools that you can reuse then in your classrooms. Let's see if someone else is sharing.
12 and 11 seem to have good time, actually.
Oh, 19? Rani, what happened?
Trying to help others
Oh, okay. To
who
fall
are
down.
in deep problem, because if you don't catch him, it will be a big issue for him.
Great, that's great. Thank you. Then we have number 10. Yes, again, number 9, Sari. Oh, Sari is like hanging and trying probably to explore, let's say, or to swing somehow. So this is another example of a tool that I use in class. I use it very often as an ice-breaking activity because it takes just a few minutes, but it's useful also to assess class climate. Because, if you have many people, maybe in the number 5 or number 14, then you know that you might have, a pretty, let's say, tired classroom. So you need to adjust to it. You are number 2. Yeah. Thank you. That's very nice. That's very nice. So I think we are perfectly on time. But as you have seen, I have not covered everything that was on the plan, but I don't think really this is a big issue. So I don't have anxiety because of that. I hope, I just stimulated your inner thoughts and your curiosity, and that you as an autonomous learner are going to, through the slides, through the materials, and maybe, find out something interesting that you can potentially adapt and use into your classrooms. So it has been a pleasure for me being here with you, and I wish you all the best of luck. I really want to thank you also for your contributions. You really enriched the sessions with your observations and comments. So thank you very much also to
you,
Nidal
Alice.
and Lama who were behind, the scheduling of this session. Nidal, so Lama was also ready, for discussing the cases, but I hope, you have another meeting for that, another session. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandra. Thank you all.
Alessandra, have a nice day.
You too. I hope you enjoy, the next sessions
time.
and episodes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
See you.
you. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.